Hello, hello, and welcome back to Minotaur Hotel. It hasn't been a week since I've recorded. You can't prove anything. It hasn't been more than a week. Shut up. I think the last thing we did was the Tapir Man, right? Right? Yeah. Back in the car, Storm mustered up enough energy for a conversation.
So, what is this thing, exactly?
Assuming he wasn't lying. I'd wager a guess it's some
Special kind of salt. The tapir equivalent to a piece of the true cross, pretty much. Must be good for cleansing impurities, on top of it being great for rites. And it may have some charm property in itself. So, I shouldn't use it on food. That would be a horrible waste.
Now I turn on the car.
So, that was weird, right? Just want to make sure this ain't par for the course in your magical adventures.
It was the weirdest thing I'd ever experienced in my life.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
I'm sorry for getting you warped into this. I didn't expect us to get into a mess this dangerous.
It's fine. Neither of us got injured or anything.
Tell that to the after image squarely in the middle of my eyesight.
True.
Thanks for coming on this adventure with me, kid. I didn't thought I'd like it one bit, but...
Well, if what the old man has said is true, we might have just uncursed the hinterlands. I'd say that was worthwhile.
Yeah, you're right. I couldn't hide a smile, and with that, we drove off. But not before I, stabbed myself with a paperclip fragment the second I reached for the gear shift. Tail of the Skin Tapir. Okay. Well, now what? There's no leads. Ugh. The early start must have taken a lot out of us, or maybe starting the day with a good, filling breakfast of greasy cheese was catching up to us. Regardless of sundown, we were both nodding our heads and struggling to keep our eyes open. We've been keeping quiet for at least an hour, both of us lost in our own thoughts. When the kid half mumbled something, it took me a moment to realize he was asking me a question.
Sorry, what was that? Sunset's pretty, ain't it?
I look ahead to the blaze of orange and pink draped across the horizon. Yeah.
This is nice, ain't it? And just driving around and eating a meal at Lala's and having a shower every morning and sleeping in an actual bed every night.
Just keep in mind, this ain't a vacation, kid.
Yeah, I know. It's just... Even ever since I met you, it feels like I've been, pulled into a whole different world, you know.
I couldn't help but narrow my eyes and clench my jaw. What brought this all on all of a sudden?
Sunset's got me thinking is all.
The Storm fidgeted with his hands, his fingers interlocking and fighting each other. I thought that would be the end of the conversation, but then he spoke up again.
Thanks for being here. Getting this charm thing's, getting another chance at life. May seem like I'm exaggerating, but you're the best person I've ever met.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna let me read all this, P? Nope? Okay. I guess I could have I could go and just pause the footage, since I am recording, and just read that later. But I'll forget as soon as I finish recording this. Probably in 2 minutes of reading as well, but you know. I'm sorry.
What? I'm sorry. You've been surrounded by so many shitty people that I think that I seem like a good guy in comparison.
I don't know what I was expecting, but Storm laughed, without fear or shame, not really worrying about anything at all, just a deep rumbling laugh coming from deep in his chest.
Look, you are a cunt, but that doesn't mean you're a bad person. As much of a mean piece of shit you can be, no one else ever gave me a chance like you did. You must have some good way about downing you, in you to just, be as decent as you've been to someone like me.
I had to pull over onto the road's shoulder. Wasn't sure if I was crying or not, but I turned my face away from him just in case. There were too many thoughts going through my head all of a sudden, all because of that damn bowl. Stupid goddamn fuck. You don't even... How could you say something like that? Fuck. Why did the kid being nice feel so much like a punch in the gut? I couldn't stop my body from tightening up and trembling as I struggled to breathe past the knot in my throat. But then Storm put his shoulder on my shoulder, and his sturdy grip helped me to steady myself. I swallowed, wiped at my stinging eyes, and then looked over to meet his gaze.
Thanks. I guess I needed that. What you said and all that.
Storm punched me on the shoulder, maybe a little harder than he meant to, but nothing I couldn't handle with grace and composure.
My pleasure, boss. Just telling it like it is.
And then I put the car in drive and, with the Minotaur at my side, continued searching for a way out of that labyrinth and winding roads and salted earth. Man, what do I do? When we returned to the inn, Storm insisted I take a shower. We had a whole discussion about it and how long it takes to dry my feathers. I said it was too late already. He said it wasn't, but because I wouldn't be sleeping anyhow. Cheeky bitch.
The water's hard as rock here. I couldn't even get any foam going when I soaked my hands. I won't be able to clean my feathers properly. I'll just get a fungal infection.
In the end, we reached a compromise. He'd let me be if we went to a certain place first time in the morning. We set out at 4:30 a.m. According to his directions and my estimation, I'd take us there an hour. It would take about an hour to get there. For half an hour, I drove through the darkness, with Storm sleeping by my side in perfect silence. Storm was damn detailed about the exact way to go. At least, the landmarks came in just the order he told me. It turned out it wasn't actually in the valley, but just outside of it. After being way down in there for about a week, climbing up into the foothills felt stupendous, maybe a little larger than life. The long shadows down below made the place seem almost dollhouse-like, and the rosy dawn. Dried up trees and houses, just the little playthings to be picked up, yet almost beautiful. When you're out of the grime, you can see up close. The little lilac sky up ahead, and the red heat of the dawn on my feathers, seeing the barren wasteland in my rearview mirror as we climbed out of that hole. It felt like heaven. A Storm stirred, just a wiggle to get his neck into a better position.
Storm?
Lazy little shit forced me to do this for him, and now he expects me to find it while he's taking a nap. Just wasting our goddamn time. Let the boy sleep. 10 or so minutes later, I pulled into a truck stop to refuel and grab us some breakfast. When I returned to the car, he was rubbing the sand from his eyes while staring blearily around.
Where are we?
Almost at our destination. At least from the directions you gave me. Woke up just in time, kid. I'll need you to guide me the rest of the way.
Oh, sorry. I remember now.
His greedy gaze went to my cup of coffee.
Did you get me anything?
Fuck no. Get it your damn self. That's what your salary's for, ain't it? The kid rolled his eyes and snorted, then undid his seatbelt while fishing in his pocket for coins. I sighed, put a hand on his shoulder, and pulled him back into the passenger seat. Just messing with you. Here, got you a sandwich and a coffee. The coffee vapor rose up to greet our noses. I could almost have cried right then and there. It was my first cup of coffee in a week, and that didn't smell burnt or like stale instant powder. A Storm seemed to feel the same way. He drove right in and almost burned his tongue. He dove in, not drove. What am I? We ended up holding our cup in front of the AC to cool them down. The first sip tasted like sex. Okay.
Damn good coffee, Storm. Damn good coffee. And they didn't come out of the sandwich filling either. Wait, they didn't cheap out of the sandwich filling either.
I never have guessed this truck stop right here would be the best food in the hinterlands. A Storm golfed and spoke between chops. Hardly bites. Definitely chomps. Of his sandwich. Okay.
Nah, we're outside of it by now, and the place I want to take you to is just farther ahead.
I hope it's worth our while.
Oh, it will be. Maybe not for the investigation, but I promise you're gonna love it. I was thinking last night about those rites you taught me. The paperclip, the drinking and talking, but mainly the purification one. Seeing as you're all about getting yourself rid of bad energy, I think you'll like what I have in mind.
Is it a saw place or something? Because if it is, I'm not sure it's worth all the time it took to get here.
No, it's way better. It's a neat little place I found when I tried running away a few years back. You ended up staying there for a week or so. Only reason I didn't stay longer is that it's in the middle of nowhere, so getting food wasn't easy.
We'll see if you really learned anything about the purification rite, I guess. I finished my coffee and turned on the engine. Storm didn't wait to finish chewing and swallowing before he spoke. The coffee and food seemed to have taken him some eagerness, as well as impatient.
Just keep going straight ahead. I'll point you in the right direction.
With that, we set off. I drove eastward for 10 more minutes before, per Storm's instructions, taking a right down a bumpy clay road between two fenced-in properties.
You better not puncture the car roof, you hear?
A short while later, the fields gave way to a quaint trail sidelined by wizened trees. Their bark was shriveled and rough, and their branches still sported a brave covering of leaves. Further still, and then we reached a dead end. Beyond it, there was no road, only brush. We got out, and Storm led the way, and not even 20 steps in, I could already hear rushing water. I almost tripped as we climbed down some craggy rocks, but Storm's clacking hooves almost somehow held firm on the underside of the trees' unusually green canopy. I could see the droppled reflection of the natural pool, or maybe a tiny lake.
How's that purification and running water, boss? And more than that, this here is a hot spring of drinkable mineral water.
Damn, I didn't expect the hinterlands to have a place like this.
Do you think God would put a pretty little thing on this caliber down in that shithole. I told you, we ain't even in the hinterlands anymore. That's why. By the time that stream runs down the valley, it's just starts stagnant. Ain't of much use then. The thing is, it's too out of the way to become a trendy place for tourists, and who the hell would wanna visit a hot spring when the weather's already so damn hot? No one comes out here, save for some of the farmhands, and even then, only when it's dark and breezy. We should have the whole place to ourselves.
Real living water. Mineral salts. A pure and beautiful place. Maybe it was just because of my week in the hinterlands, but the sight took my breath away.
Kid, I gotta hand it to you. This was well worth the drive. Well, a deal's a deal. I guess it's bath time for Birdie.
I began removing my jacket and walked on ahead of him.
It took you a while to get here. It took us a while to get here, so we shouldn't waste any time, right?
After hanging my shirt on a branch and settling my folded pants on a rock, I approached the spring's edge. I wet a foot to check the water's temperature. It was hot enough to be almost unbearable at first. But a minute or two of dipping my toes in, I got acclimated. I expected to hear the shuffling of more clothes being removed, but there was only the idle tapping of Storm's hooves on the stony shore, past the dull roar of the waterfall. Storm wasn't keeping himself half turned. Storm was keeping himself half turned away from me. Apparently, I'm wanting to give me privacy. What a gentleman. As I stepped in and waded out until the water was up to my waist.
Jesus, this is almost boiling. Are you sure it's safe, Storm?
Yeah, it's fine once you get used to it. Just don't stay in for too long. It actually ends up making the rest of the day feel a little cooler by comparison.
And with that, I took a deep breath and dunked myself down all the way. It felt like I was on fire. The water seeps into my feathers and down my skin. It burned as it soaked me through, and I curled up in the spring's depths like I was suffering the worst cramp of my life. I got it into my eyes. The darkness behind my eyelids flashed red, and I almost screamed. The only thing that stopped me was the sensation of something coming undone. The stiffness came out of my feathers. The cramp dissipates. The water washed something away. I stayed underwater until my lungs burned. As soon as I surfaced, gasping and looking around, I saw a ring of white sediment floating around me. I cupped a bit of it with my hands and tried to examine it in my palm. Was that salt? It seemed so, but shouldn't it have dissolved already? Had all of the that shit been on me? I rubbed my arms, and more sediment kept coming off. I could almost wring it out of my feathers.
Hey, Storm, can you come over here and check something for me?
What's up?
There's some weird dirt in the water. Have you seen something like white sand coming off of you while bathing here?
Oh yeah, that's always coming off my fur when I wash here. The first time I dove in, I spent a good half an hour getting it all off.
And how about your second time?
It disappeared after my third or fourth, and when I spent a while away and came back, it was back there again. I figured it was just like dandruff or something, but you're getting it too. Can feathers even get dandruff?
Could it have been some kind of defilement from the hinterlands? If so, then it was probably a good idea for Storm to take a dip as well, if it had been a while for him.
I think you should come in and cleanse yourself too.
Nah, I only suggested we come out here because I thought you'd like it. I don't feel like doing it this time of day.
Just get in here. I think you might have some of the weird dirt on you too.
Really? I shower every day, you know.
This is supernatural stuff. A regular shower won't do. Come on, kid. He huffed and pouted, and glared at me like I had just insulted him. But at last he shuckled off his clothes, leaving them in an untidy pile of rocks. I kept my eyes, all of them, above his waist as he splashed into the pool to join me.
Well, let's see how this goes, boss.
A Storm dunked himself underwater, and then twisted back and forth like he was pretending to be a washing machine. It would almost have been cute in its childishness, if it wasn't for the weird white sediment floating off of his whole body. Storm heaved himself out of the water. He shook his head and blinked his eyes, then stared at the ring surrounding him.
Geez, this much? Maybe you're right, boss. It's all right to not shower so much if I'm gonna still get all this crap on me.
I told you, it's supernatural. You still need to be a good boy and shower, so you don't start stinking worse than you already do. The unruly calf splashed me and bellowed out a laugh.
I know, boss. Just being a little shit.
Guess he must have gotten that from somewhere. I noticed that the splash had washed off a little more sediment from my neck and chest. And so we spent a long time just wringing ourselves out, with the occasional splash between us, of course. He really was still a kid, after all, so I didn't mind letting him have his fun, as payment for bringing me to that place. Sure enough, we weren't letting off any more defilement. So, how do you feel?
Better, I guess. Coming here was always good for getting myself relaxed. How do you feel, boss?
Right as rain. Thank you, Storm. This really was a good way to start the day. I'll end the part here, so I'll see you around, everyone.